What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Trenches, the first episode. Today we are here in Rhode Island and we are with Marc Trachtenberg, CEO of Velocity Labs and Silk Title.
Squad going crazy, I'm inaugurated. Bringing greatness to the bay, I feel like Tom Brady. Hand on the game, tell them never try to play me. Want a little smoke, dog, it can get hazy. Act up, no I can't behave, okay. Who can get it jumping like the wave? I wait. When we meet you on my dinner plate, fillet. In love with danger, I can't play it safe.
Today our goal is to get deep into trenches and find out how Marc started his business and build them up.
Ooh, look, you know we sliding. Losing ain't an option, we surviving. And we gon' always run it back. What you know about it, whoa. Get, what you gon' do about it, whoa. We gon' always run it back. What you know about it, whoa. Get, what you gon' do about it, whoa. Cause we gon' make the plays while you talk about it, whoa.
Guys, welcome to The Trenches. Like I said, we got Marc Trachtenberg here. And Marc, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your companies.
Marc Trachtenberg, president, actually chairman, CEO of Silk Title, Velocity Labs, and then a bunch of other companies, which is owned by a lot of my trusts. I do keep those confidential for certain reasons. A lot of my competitors use some of my other companies, and then obviously from a legality standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. But had a lot of success over the years, and just fortunate to be in the spot of where I am today, and then obviously meeting great people along the way.
For sure. Tell us a little bit about yourself outside of business.
I am batshit crazy. I go at 100,000 miles a minute all the time. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not doing something.
Right.
I think from outside of business, it's just a very high competitor. You know, I loved playing sports when I was growing up, but I wasn't as fortunate to be as good of an athlete as you are. So, you know, but I think a lot of that discipline and ability transformed into business, whether that be from the successes and the failures, understanding what it's like to lose. A lot of people ask me, you know, how did you get here? And I think a lot of it is people's fear of losing becomes a bigger piece of why you can't succeed. Because there's not a day that goes by that you're not losing in order to figure out how to be better. And I think people don't realize what that means and understand. I mean, even you look at it from an athlete standpoint, dude, you don't win every day. You don't. You know, you go through a lot of trials and tribulations, you go through injuries, you go, like people look at it and go, Marc, like, how do you equate an injury in sports to business?
Right.
Well, that's the failure. Like I put myself in certain circumstances that actually injure myself, not on purpose, but it's like, okay, I do certain things because you don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work. And there's a lot of trial and error, but you know, I think it's also experience. You know, at the end of the day, it's one of those things that everyone thinks that you're just so fortunate, but they also don't realize the 120 hours it takes to work a week to build a company, the hours it takes. Like yesterday, I didn't leave the office until almost 9 o'clock. Right, and it's like, okay, people want to see the nice stuff, the fun stuff, the success, but it's kind of like a professional NFL player, right? No one sees the process Monday through Friday. They only see what you do on a Sunday. But they don't see right now the OTAs and the 6 hours in the gym, the 8 hours on the field, the politics that go into everything. Like, and there's politics in everything you do, right? It doesn't matter if it's sports, business, anything. And you know, I think one of the biggest pieces of it is outside of work is not any different than inside of work for me. And I think a lot of people miss that, which is there's no days off. There's owning companies, building businesses, building success. There truly is no days off. Right? A Sunday is no different to me than a Monday. Right? Maybe there's different things that are happening during that, but I'm still preparing for the week on a Sunday just as much as I'm preparing on a Monday. I don't wake up Monday and start planning my week. The week's already started for me from a business aspect of it. And I think there's a lot of things that people don't want to make the sacrifices that are required. They also don't want to have the conversations necessary with their families. Right? If you're going to get into a family circumstance, okay, at the end of the day, your family's got to be just on as board with you as you are trying to do something, because those are distractions that inhibit you from being able to be successful, right? And that's challenging.
I watched a video and it was talking about signal versus noise, and it's like you're a signal guy, right? I mean, you got to be a signal guy. Can you hit a little bit on that? Like, first of all, I want to talk about your habits, and then we can kind of go into that. But you know, we talk about the athlete, we understand our habits, we got to eat right and do it. But what does that look like you from a business perspective? And then How does all that affect you in your daily life? Because with you being a high signal guy, you know, how do you manage all that but still have like the habits to be who you are?
Well, I think when you look at a high signal, it just means what is your repertoire every day? Like what is that? What are you looking to do? Like, you know, a lot of people are not as in tune with their surroundings as a lot of successful people. Part of being successful is understanding what makes other people tick, what makes other people drive. How do you get a cohesiveness? Like 53-man roster means you got 53 different personalities. 10,000 person company means I got 10,000 different personalities. You got to be able to drive in those directions. And you know, early on, if you asked me that question, I would have said, I woke up at this, I do this, and I do this, and that's bullshit. Okay, that doesn't really exist in my world. Like I don't sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to set my alarm for 5:45. I'm going to be at the gym. No, sleep's also very important to me. Right? If I'm not sleeping, how can I be effective the next morning? Like I get it. I get that people are. I do this, and this is going to be the result. That's nonsense. That does not happen, because if that was the result and the playbook was that, there would be no poor people in America.
Right.
Because everybody would be able to do the same thing, right? That everybody would say, okay, if I just follow this, I'm going to be successful. That's not reality.
Right.
Reality says, well, because if everybody could do it, everybody would be an NFL athlete, everybody would be a business owner. That doesn't exist, right? Discipline is more to me about what you're portraying. What are you doing? What are those expectations you set of yourself? Right? What are the expectations you set of your team? What is your expectations you set of everybody from the lowest level position all the way to the highest level position? Those expectations will differ based off seniority. Those expectations will differ based on the role you're in. Right? So when I look at it and say, okay, I do the same shit on a Saturday that I do on a Tuesday. Right? What most people don't differentiate is, okay, well, Monday through Friday is my work week. No, my work week is, okay, Saturday I come up with an idea. Now I may spend time on that idea. Doesn't mean that I won't foster it more during the week, but it means that I'm always on my A game. As long as I'm up, I'm on my A game. The discipline comes from the fact that I don't hear all the other noise, and my signal is very in tune. Right. So when you start looking at, a lot of people get distracted and disrupted because of outside influences, and I stay in my lane a lot more than other people, and it's hard conversations. People don't like having hard conversations. People don't like saying no. Okay, well, I may tell you no, but I'm going to explain to you why I'm telling you no. That's up to you whether you like it or not. Okay, the hardest part in the world that we live in today is what? Wanting to be liked. Okay, and as a business owner, as a mentor, as anything, it's not possible to be liked, because you got to make a decision that's that's going to affect somebody negatively, right? Like whether that be a business partner, whether that be a client, whether it be a prospect, whether it be a friend. Like you can't do everything, right? But I think what a lot of people miss out on is explaining. Hey, I'm just going to tell you why I can't do this today, but here's the reason why. I understand you're going to be disappointed in that, but I'd rather be honest with you than string you along in a circumstance that now. Every time I've seen somebody string somebody along, guess what happens? More time gets wasted, more energy gets wasted, because guess what? The person you're stringing along is still going to call you. They're not going to stop if they think there's something of value you can give them. You know, so I think a lot of it just goes down to personality. Discipline becomes a personality type thing, and discipline becomes, you know, hey, it's okay to not want to do something. Right? And it doesn't make you a bad person. Maybe that person doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Okay, that's on them. That's not on me. You know, so discipline is a very interesting statement, right? Like athletes grow up to say, okay, I got to be in the gym. I've got to do this many reps. I got to do this. I got to do this. And your answer is yes, that is correct. But really, what is your discipline? Discipline is actually what your drive is. Okay, because to me, if you know what your goal is, now you understand, okay, what do I need to do to get to that goal? And that creates your discipline. Your discipline should be different than my discipline. Okay, how you operate your daily basis is going to be different than what I'm doing, because we're two different people, right? Like, I don't need to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to be at the gym, because I'm not blocking and tackling somebody. Therefore, to do that, to spend 3 hours in the gym is not actually of value to me, right? For when you were playing, spending 3 hours in the gym was a huge value to, and that was an expectation. That's why they had the workout bonuses and everything. Doesn't mean I don't want to be healthy. Doesn't mean that I don't want to do the things that eating properly and everything else, but your diet playing NFL needed to be different than my diet running a business.
Right.
And it's challenging because when you go from being an athlete to all of a sudden that music stops, your diet actually has to change.
Yeah.
Your exercise routine changes. Your caloric intake has to change, right? And that's the one thing I failed at miserably early on. I was like, okay, I stopped working out, but I thought I could eat as much as I was eating before. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me means you got to pivot as your life changes, your discipline and what your goals are need to change, and therefore then you need to back into those things because what I'm doing today doesn't necessarily equate to what I had success in the past. Cool. And I think you could see that as an athlete, right? Like what you did for how many years of your life was a disciplined routine, but when the music stopped, all of a sudden what you knew to do for 30 years of your life or whatever it is changes.
I want to talk about that a little bit when you talk about the athletes and like you said, when the music stops. I know you're heavily involved in the New England area with athletes, and let's talk about like how do you work with athletes? How do you give back to athletes, and like what is your passion behind that and why?
It's the biggest thing I see with the athlete, and what drove me to it is there's a lot of similarities between being an athlete and running a business or being an athlete and being part of a business, right? There's also a piece that everyone thinks, okay, I made money playing sports, therefore I can be a business owner. That doesn't always need to be that way, right? There's other ways you could leverage your name, image, and like there's other ways you could leverage who you were as an athlete to actually become successful in the business world. But you've got to make a determination. Do you have the same stomach to run a business? And you've seen it, right? Building your own business is not as easy as everybody thinks 100%. It is, and money does not make you a successful business person, right? Understanding what the goal is, understanding how to drive, and people management is an enormous piece of it, right? So you go back to the question of why do I want to get involved in athletes? Because no one's helping them.
Yeah.
Right? You get out of college or you get out of high school, you get your first run at the college, and okay, you do well there, and then you get your agent, and the agent then is negotiating this contract. But then what happens?
Yeah.
No one's setting you up the first day in the league to say, okay, this is the path you need to go down. And look at NFL. 3 years you have to be. X amount of games before you're going to be vested, right? And how many of the athletes that enter the NFL actually get to that point?
Yeah.
Right? And then even if you do, what happens after? What did you surround yourself with? You know, I have an athlete here at the New England Patriots, you know, and he's a different breed.
Yeah.
He's a different breed. And that's a very interesting thing because when he leaves the field, he works on him. He works on his business. It doesn't mean that he's not engaged with his teammates. And he's actually very, very well-liked individual. But when he leaves the stadium, he's now working on building himself outside of being known as just an athlete, right? And that is this conscious decision, right? The conscious decision is he showed up to my office. He calls me every day to help him with an idea or just chatting it up. He's building a relationship, right? Business people want to know that this isn't a short-term gain. It's a long-term play. Therefore, it's about likability. It's about building a relationship. It's about conversing, right? And I think if you're honest, how many athletes think that we need you more than you need us? Right? And that's the portrayal that happens. And it's like, no, bro, we need each other. Like if we're going to do this, let's be honest with each other and say, you bring value to me, but I also bring value to you. And guess what? Your success on the playing field is just as the same success that I'm having in business. Let's merge those together and show that we both need each other. And yes, maybe as an athlete, I'm leveraging your NIL. I'm averaging your celebrity status, right?
So let's go into that a little bit. How, like with the guy you're working with at the Patriots, what are you doing right now supporting him with his business? Because obviously you talked about your guys' relationship, and where's your goal for him, and what do you want to do with it?
He's 27 years old.
Yeah.
Right? He's now just signed a second contract.
Yeah.
Right? Now he's got money. The rookie contract, everybody, unless you're in the first round, that rookie contract ain't anything great.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you're in the first round, that rookie contract's pretty damn lucrative.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's good. But, you know, if you look at an average team, how many of the players are actually making more than $2 million? Right? So sitting down with opportunities, hey, do you have the right insurance coverage for you on if you get injured? Okay. Do you have the right planning? Do you have the right advisors? Okay. Then it's like, what are your interests? If your interests don't align with me as a business person, I can't really help you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing. If the interests align, like the number one thing you see, and I think you'll appreciate this being a former athlete, is every athlete wants to get into real estate. The hell does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Right? I just want,
yeah.
Because everyone thinks, okay, there's all this money in real estate and I can continue to make that kind of living, right? But the reality of it is, if you look at that year, okay, if you just signed a $40 million, $3 million 3-year contract, well, now you're supposed to be making $10 million a year. That's really now what, $5 million after taxes.
Right.
After you've got to pay for your agent fee, then you got to pay for the trainer, then you got to pay for off season out in San Diego or wherever it is. It's like people don't see that. People see the sport track number, but they don't realize if all goes right, that's what you're making.
Yeah.
But all ain't going right to make that money.
You got those expenses.
Right.
Sure.
And I think what I'm doing with him is building the relationship, helping him out, looking at, okay, what are your interests? Hey, do they align? And then it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to be doing some things on the name, image, and likeness stuff. He's going to be part of a brand ambassador for me and my companies. And in turn, there are certain requirements. And we got to fit that into your season. Yeah. How does that work? Right? Being very transparent up front, which is, hey, what are my expectations as a business owner and what are your expectations as the athlete? And sitting down with that takes time. Then you get the lawyers involved in it when you start getting into contracts and everything else, and we know how long that takes, right? And just like everything else, like if you go get married, it's very unlikely that you go elope and you meet somebody and 2 days later you're married, right? It takes time to build trust. It takes time to build commonality. It takes time to understand how people operate. Right? Does it fit into your ecosystem, right? And then it takes humbleness on the athlete to say, okay, I don't know what I don't know in business, right? This kid's 27 years old. Yes, he's had a lot of success playing football, but how many athletes, when they finish playing, are now 10 years behind the same person that started in business 10 years ago?
I always talk about that, and that was part of my reason, I retired too, because, and it's going to be a tough conversation for some people to have and really think about it, but my last 2 years, I was on practice squad, and it got to a certain point. It's like, hey, listen, the guy that was 21 when I came in, Grant, I jumped him, financially wise. But then at 32, he's on his way up. When I'm done, I'm going back down, right? And so now I'm rebuilding up and building a whole new, like, granted, I still have some social equity and whatnot, but still though, and it's like, this is almost a disadvantage now to continue playing this game if I'm not making X amount of dollars, so I need to get started on my own. Right. So
if you think about it, you bring that up, like practice squad players making a couple $100,000. By the time you're all said and done, you're actually making less than the guy who's working at a company. Right. I live here, then I got another house here where I live, and it's just like I'm breaking that's the other thing too. People don't realize, like when you get traded, now you're living in a hotel. Yeah. Now during the practice, during the off season, or during now you're starting mini camps and everything. People don't realize. I had a buddy that we have a same individual. Yeah. And we both know him, and I was like, okay, he gets cut from the New England Patriots. He goes to the Arizona Cardinals, and no one knows he lived in a residence inn.
Nobody knows that. They just think you just pop up in a
Hey, I'm an NFL athlete. Yeah. Now he's got his house and everything else, but general public doesn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's still an athlete. He's made his first year contract was 1.5 million. It ain't 1.5 million.
It ain't.
Okay, and it's okay. Like building those relationships while you're playing sets you up for your future, and leverage what it was while you were playing so that you can have that success. It's just like as you're growing up and becoming an athlete, you're investing in yourself. That shouldn't stop. But now the investment has to change from investing just in playing the game and playing that sport to investing yourself for life after. And what a lot of the leagues don't do is help when an athlete comes in. And I'll flip the script on you and ask you the question. When you first entered the NFL, what did the teams in the NFL give you to say, okay, not only are yes, you're going to be an athlete for XYZ team, but what are they doing to set you up for when it stops?
Yeah. I mean, they're really,
and it's not their fault for not doing it. It's not their responsibility. But if I were to open up my own agency right now, I would actually have that as a piece of my agency to say, okay, not only as the reason why you're paying me 3% to get you your contract, maybe I'm going to help you and say, okay, well, we're going to move that to 3% and then an advisory fee, because I'm going to now take you from your rookie year and start building your marketing, start building your social, start building your network.
Well, we know that whole landscape when agencies can get a little
dicey,
squirrely, because it's like, it's a lot of people that have agents and they don't do anything other than, when you really look at it, it's like, okay, I signed my contract's already slotted. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm on a 4-year or 3-year deal, that money on a rookie deal. Cool, that's already gonna be there. But what are you doing for me off the field? And when I was actually at NFL Business Week in New York, shout out to Justin Pugh and Alex Youngberg, Marcus Colston came up there and talked about having a vision, right? Being a CEO when you come into the league. Like, understand that the people who are a part of your ecosystem, they have to be all heading in the same direction. And a lot of guys don't think about that coming, because you're so excited, I made it to the league. And I think now collegiate athletes are able to think about that coming to the league
100%.
Because they have money now.
Well,
right?
I'll give you an example, and this person is ungodly and unbelievable, and it's A-Rod.
Yeah.
Okay, A-Rod is what every athlete should aspire to do. A-Rod started A-Rod Corp while he was playing for Seattle. Okay, he was already buying apartments. He was already building his legacy off the field while he was playing. And he utilized the compensation he got for being a top baseball player to get there. Then he was ridiculously smart of his network. Okay, he didn't just meet Mark Lore because he felt like meeting him. There was opportunities. He put himself in the right spot.
I heard he would go to the opposing team's owners and go talk to them.
100%. Like, A-Rod is so personable. Then he uses the Fox media to build his brand. Okay, now that's a benefit to Fox and it's a benefit to him. Everything, if you look at what A-Rod does, he is ridiculously disciplined. He's beyond disciplined, but he's used everything in his life to get to the next level, right? And he's built a network that people trust him, right? They saw his ability on the field. They saw how he operated. He was a high competitor. But look at what he's doing today. Everyone thinks, oh, he just owns an NBA team, or he's part over an NBA team. A-Rod's got more stuff going on than most Americans know what's going on. And he does it with dignity. He does it with humbleness. He does it with, everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean everyone loves him on a day-to-day basis while he's running his companies. It means everyone respects him because they know everything he's going to touch, 90% is going to turn into success, right? And he's a very shrewd business person, right? And I think I met him once, and I just saw how he operated. And it's funny because he signed a jersey for my son's birthday. David Ortiz was with him, and even that was personable. Yeah. Right? And it was like he knows how to interact with people. I guess going back to the original thing, Carl, is guess what though? He was crafting himself while he was playing. Right. He was working those hours on off season. He was working those hours at nights, on weekends. It wasn't just he used baseball and that income for a means to an end. Yeah. Right? And then the other piece of that nobody wants to talk about is the mental side of it. He was already setting himself up to still be the high-end person he was playing, so it didn't fall off the cliff, right? Yeah. He already was doing those things so that life after, he still kept up with what that image was. And let's be honest, we all like it. Yeah. There's not one person that doesn't like the notoriety. We all like it. I don't care if you're an athlete or you're a business person, we all like being recognized. It's harder being an athlete because you're on TV, because your exposure's there, right? Yeah. And you got to continue that on, because I think if you're honest, like the minute you're no longer walking out that tunnel, there's none of that. None of that excitement, the adrenaline. Right. How do you keep that up? And that's where some of these, as an athlete, you get into that funk, because I don't give two shits if you're not even a starter. Yeah. But there's still something about walking out of that tunnel that gives you that feeling of, I'm there.
Yeah. It's a gladiator field.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? And when the music stops, not only does the paycheck stop, but that feeling stops.
Yeah.
And your entire life, what did you do as an athlete? You yearned for that. It was the acceptance, right? Like what people don't want to talk about is you want to be accepted just as much as I do. Okay? But no one talks about it. No, everybody just says, okay, well, no. Well, you still yearn for acceptance even when the music stops. Now, what is your story though? What are you trying to be accepted for? And I think that's what I'm doing with some of these athletes is, okay, are you setting yourself up for that? What are you going to do? Like, what happens? It's not just monetarily. It's life still needs to go on.
Right.
And I think that's a big piece of this.
For sure. So tell us about Silk Title, how you got started, what's the story behind that?
So I am the quintessential, if I could fuck it up, if somebody could, I was the guy, okay? So I graduate high school in '96 and I go to college in upstate New York, and my freshman year, my alcohol level was higher than my GPA. I get the letter that says we think it's a good opportunity for you to go back to community college and restart this. And when you get your grades up, you can reapply. That was basically we don't want you back.
Right.
Okay. And then it turns into I go to community college, and it was like high school 2.0, and my drinking habits got worse. Right, because now it's all right. Now I'm depressed. Now it's like all right. I'm back living at home while all my other friends are at college doing the college thing. That turns into me doing worse. So now I failed. I get kicked out of school. Then I'm at home. Now I'm working at Applebee's waiting tables, and I'm like, man, I'm making $50,000 a year. I'm rich.
Yeah.
Right. I'm doing better than everybody else. Well, I'm not setting myself up. Then I end up getting to Johnson Wales out here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I finally end up graduating from Georgia State. Okay. Then I go into business, and I go into the mortgage industry. Okay. I'm 23 years old. I originally graduated Georgia State thinking, oh my God, I want to be a financial planner. Right. Then I start studying for the licenses, and I'm like, this is some bullshit. I'm like, then my ADHD is off the charts, and I get a call from a mortgage company, and I still needed a job while I was studying.
Right.
This branch manager shows me his paycheck, and I'm like, if you can do it, I can double that.
Yeah.
So I get in the mortgage business, and this is during 2002. What no one told me was all you needed was blood flowing through you and oxygen, and you were getting a loan. Yeah. Right? So all of a sudden, my first month in the mortgage business, I make $22,000.
Okay.
Okay, I become one of the top loan officers in the company. I get invited to the Super Bowl down in Galveston, Texas, and it was against New England Patriots versus the Panthers.
Okay.
Okay, get to Galveston. Now I had made $22,000, but the check hadn't actually deposited into my account. And I'm sitting out in Galveston, Texas. My area manager's with me, the regional manager's with me, and here I am thinking I'm going to the Super Bowl. Right. Now, no one told me at 23 years old that there was all these Super Bowl parties that we were going to go to, and here I am. I brought my pair of jeans and my Tom Brady jersey. Okay, and here I am. I'm going to the Super Bowl. I didn't know all these other events, and my area manager goes, "Hey, we're going to go to the George Clinton party." What do you mean we're going to George Clinton party? I don't have any outfit, anything. I have nothing to wear to the George Clinton red carpet party. So I'm like, okay. So I said to him, I said, but I don't have anything. He goes. I said, and I haven't gotten paid. And he goes, do you got a credit card? I said, yep. He goes, fake it till you make it. And I was like, what the hell does this mean? I'm like, oh, I've already spent. And this is where the first signal I saw. Okay, now this doesn't make sense to me. Okay, but the money was great, so you got to play the game. Because if you don't play the game, now the money's going to stop. Right? So I played the game. Now all of a sudden, we're 6 months into me being a loan officer. I had made roughly about $300,000 in 6 months. I get promoted to running the branch. Okay. At the time, we were given a 6-month guarantee, and I was guaranteed $60,000 a month. 23 years old.
You
balling, dude.
And this is when?
Balling. I was 2002.
Okay. Yeah.
2003. Okay. I had just run the Chicago Marathon. Okay, I was thinking I'm the high. I'm untouchable. I'm selling mortgages to everybody and their brother. Right? I'm smiling and dialing. I made more cold calls than you can imagine on a daily basis. Now all of a sudden I get promoted to run a branch at 23 years old, and I have no friggin' clue how to run a branch. I knew how to make money myself, but I didn't know how to really build people up and everything else. Finally, we figured that out. Now here I am. I'm running one of the most successful branches in the company. Boom, subprime crisis hits. The music stops. But I don't think it stops. I go build my own company. Because I thought, okay, I'm the best leader, I'm the best this. Now what people fail to tell you is now you got HR, now you got legal, now you got compliance, now you got this, now you got this. Okay, I was the best running a branch when I didn't have to worry about all this other stuff.
Right.
Okay, marketing, compliance and marketing, this and this. 2010 hits and I go bankrupt. Lose everything. Okay, here I am 2010, I am 7 years into a career, and I was an aha moment and I go, oh my God, I really suck. I'm really not as good as I think I am. Okay. And now all of a sudden it's like, what do you do?
Right.
All right. So now I got in the title business because one of the title companies I was using allowed me to get into the business, and I went from making that kind of money to making a salary of $40,000.
Damn.
Having to start all over again, cold calling. Then that turns into, okay, 2015 hits, and I was like, my personality was I just couldn't work for somebody.
Yeah.
So I got this opportunity at the time with Silk. They were one of my other title companies, so I worked for one company, and then Silk was the other company. They brought me in, and I come to find out they're almost a bankrupt company. I had a really small piece of equity. Okay. Now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I've gone from one title company to another title company, a third title company, now I'm on my fourth. I'm going, shit, the industry's now going to look at me going, it ain't the companies, it's got to be Marc. This is my last hoorah. I knew if I didn't make this into something, I was done. So my back's up against the wall, and when your back's up against the wall, in my mind, you have two options, fight or flight.
Correct.
Right? And then I got to sit back, and the first thing I did was I looked in the mirror, I pointed the finger, and the finger miraculously pointed back at me. And that was the aha moment that I said, okay, this is all about how am I going to do things differently? And the number one thing I realized was from 2002 to 2015, it was actually all about me. When I realized it could never be about me ever again, and that if in building a company was all about your people, it was all about the process, and it was all about what it was that you were driving people to do. And when I had that aha moment, I realized, oh my God, we have no money. We're a company who has been around at the time Silk was started in 2002, 2015. So you could think, okay, the only thing we really had was 13 years in business. But what no one tells you is 13 years in business means nothing. Because guess what? Just like playing football, you're only as good as you were yesterday.
Correct.
Okay? And when I realized that, and I realized, okay, I got to build something differently here. And I realized in 2015, I realized, okay, this industry is so archaic that I looked and said, okay, we don't want to just be a title company anymore. That's when I got into technology. That's when I got into data. And that's when I started bringing in the right people, coaching, mentoring, helping. Doesn't mean I wasn't tough. Doesn't mean I didn't have high expectations myself, because at the end of the day, but I also realized if and when I make others money, I inherently am going to make money. It became more important for me to build other people up to success, and inherently I would be successful, right? But bro, there was times where I'm going, how am I going to make payroll?
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Well, it goes back to a conversation you and I were having, which is people don't want to see the Monday through Friday. They only want to see the Sunday.
Yeah.
They only want to see the success. They want to see, okay, hey, he can go do this. He does this. He does this. Like, it takes a lot of time to understand how. It takes a lot of conversations. It takes a lot of trials and errors. And, that turned us into Silk doing, certain things and building it and really doing things that others weren't doing. And, in the tough times when rates went from 2.75 to almost 8% when COVID ended, we're back to the, oh God, what are we doing?
Right.
What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I realized, okay, you got to continue to invest in a better mousetrap. And then it turned into marketing. It turned into, okay, while everybody else was focused on rates, I realized I can't control that. Just like today, I can't control what comes out of Donald J. Trump's mouth, but every time he opens his mouth, it's either Things are getting better or they're getting really worse.
Yeah.
Right? And I can control what I can control, which is what? How do I gain more market share? How do I build a better mousetrap? How do I do things that I now realize that we don't go to some zero? Like loans don't just come to zero. Everyone in America wants to buy a house, right? And I had to figure out, okay, how do we do it cheaper, smarter, better? How do I realize what headwinds are out there? How do I realize, okay, well, you've got to have everybody rowing their oars in the same direction, right? I think everybody has the dreams, but they don't have the fundamentals, right? And dreaming's one thing. Executing's a whole different.
Correct.
Right? And everyone asks me, okay, dreaming is what your vision is. That's your vision. Your dream is your vision. How do you execute? People bite off more than they can chew. They want to be this enormous company out of the gate. Doesn't happen. Never happens that way. And every time you think you figured it out, you didn't.
You didn't. Like my golf game.
Right. and listen, man, I don't have all the answers too. I think the reality is you got to become a student of your business every day.
Yeah.
And every day you got to learn something. Every day you got to try harder. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to do like what I was in my younger self, which is I'm going to outwork everybody. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my first thing. Was I'm going to outwork everybody. I get it. You had to because you had to learn.
Yeah.
Then you got to start pivoting that to working smarter, not harder.
Right.
Building the right relationship, getting the right mentorship, putting yourself out there. And that's tough because all of us don't like to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But in order to be successful, you have to be vulnerable.
For sure. So, talking about your business, let's talk about the success of the business. So, where'd you start at, and then where is it at today?
So, I mean, if you look at, it's a multi-million-dollar organization, Silk is, and then there's all my other companies, right?
Yeah.
So, build wealth wasn't just about one company for me. It was about how do I build sustainable revenue generating functionality, and how do I do it where if I had a great idea, it's not housed in this one company. Here's a great idea that's now housed over here, and how do I utilize that? And then I realized that different industries also needed certain things. Right? So I realized, okay, when I went into robotics, all right, where could I put that? And then I realized they could go into medical billing. Right, and that was another thing that I came into and said, okay, there's a ton of fraud in medical billing. Okay, well, take the human element out of it and you can start taking the fraud out of it, and then you could use AI, data analytics and everything to see that. And I stumbled upon that through what I was building at Silk. And then when I realized, okay, I could do this, that started turning to other things. Right, and then I realized if I wanted to be wealthy, how do I become wealthy? Right, and it wasn't just about having a small business. It was about how do you build Silk into a 1,000 upon 1,000 a month closing company, and how do you do that better than your competitors? I posted something on Instagram, and I think you probably saw it, which is everybody thinks, talk about who your competitors are, and I get that question asked all the time. Marc, who are your competitors? And you know what I say? Myself. Because if I'm so worried about the noise outside, I'm not focused on what my vision is and what I need to do. And it's not that I ignore that there's competitors, but I don't focus on what they're doing. I focus on what I'm set out to do. And that has led me into a lot more success, where a lot of people, when they ask me that question, I stumble because I don't really know.
Yeah.
Right? I know.
Stay in that signal, right?
If you're talking about Silk Title, guess what my competitors are? Everyone else in the titling business.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that is. I realize that I have a mission to do what I want to do and what the company wants to do, and that is what I focus my energies on. If you start focusing, if you look at a lot of people, they scour social media, they sit on LinkedIn, they do all this other stuff, and it's like, what are you doing? That's all noise to me. Your signal starts getting disrupted because it's just noise, right? Stay laser focused on what you're trying to accomplish, right? And wealth becomes, you don't make wealth in an 8-hour day. The only way you can be ridiculously wealthy is to be sleeping and making money.
Yeah.
And I know that's easier said than done, but the reality is you got to build something that's sustainable that doesn't need you.
So a system.
One of the hardest things is to not be needed in your own company.
That was actually going to be one of my.
It's one of my hardest things. And it's hard as an entrepreneur, dude. Like when I had no money, I thought I had to control everything. And then as you start building stuff, I still to this day struggle with it. Just yesterday, I struggled with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like the goal of being wealthy is to be needed the least on a daily basis. Yeah. Now, the problem is it goes back to the NFL side of it too, right? Your identity just went away. Now you got to figure out what your new identity is, because your identity was your brand, your identity was your company, your identity was all the people that work with you.
So is that why you built so many different businesses?
Yep.
Because you was just chasing that.
I was chasing the dream.
Yeah.
I was chasing the dream. I was chasing, and honestly, I stumbled on 90% of them. I didn't intentionally go into it, but I then saw a need.
Yeah.
And I saw, okay, how do I fulfill that need? And the need wasn't what I needed, it was what the consumer needed.
Correct.
Right? And I started focusing on more about what the consumer wants, what drives people, and understanding that. And then I started realizing, okay, well, I could do this better than somebody else. Or, hey, here's an idea. What does that look like? Right? And a lot of people look at it and they struggle with that. But I think for me, my pivot shifted from building businesses to helping people. So now my identity became about, and you saw this out at Packing in Arizona, which is, I didn't have to be there. I wanted to be there because I wanted to help people. We actually had a chance meeting.
Yeah.
Right? Devin McCourty happened to be talking to me, happened to see you. You guys happened to be teammates. And all of a sudden, had that meeting not happened, had that chance interaction not happened, we would not be sitting in this room today.
Correct. It's all about chance.
Correct. And you put yourself in those opportunities, right? Like, people are like, oh, you're lucky. No shit. Of course I am.
Yeah.
But I created my own luck by being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
There's no question that my wealth was partially luck, right? I think people run from that statement. I never run from that statement. I wouldn't be here. Like, if you knew my background, my father cheated on my mother with the marriage counselor, married the marriage counselor. I had an awful upbringing, right? Awful. Yeah, right, and I could have made that into something and used that as the reason why I couldn't succeed. Then I go bankrupt, and I fail at college. Like, how many people are willing to talk about that, right? If you name it, I did it wrong.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it was in my life, right?
Yeah.
I did it wrong.
But it's how you handle that failure.
But I used all of that now to say, what's my purpose in life? And my purpose in life actually is helping people. I don't know what I'm about to get into.
Yeah.
Started today. I didn't really know what I was about to get into, but I knew you were a good guy. We've hung out. We've had great conversations, and I wanted to help you and help where you wanted to go.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I don't know what that 100% is going to be,
right,
but I know if we keep trying at it, we'll figure it out. And if there's commonality and where there's likability, it will get there.
For sure.
And there will be some luck along the way.
For sure, 100%. So let me ask one of these kind of closing questions. So obviously my brand, me being a defensive lineman, I'm in the trenches, right? I do a lot of dirty work. And so what I wanted to know was, what does it mean to be in the trenches for you? That
you don't expect somebody to do something you're not willing to do. Okay, it doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it all the time. But if I need you or expect you to go and clean that bathroom, I'm not too good to clean that bathroom. Okay? I'm not too good to do the laundry. I'm not too good to do certain things, right? It doesn't mean that time allows me to do it or it's the best use of my time, but I will never ever ask somebody to go in the trenches with me without being willing to do it the lowest level within the organization is. It does not mean that I'm going to do it every day, but I believe in, I can't go ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do. Now, your ability may be different than mine, which means you may have a better ability to do that, which means, yes, I'm going to want you to do that more than I would because I don't have that ability, right? I think one of the biggest things Americans got to realize is what are our abilities and what are not our abilities and what are our weaknesses. And you can't always make your weakness into a strength. Everybody tries to convince themselves they can. But bro, let's be honest. If in this moment, at this point in time, we were trying to do an arm wrestling contest, my ass ain't beating you.
Right.
Okay. And there's nothing in this world that's going to try and convince me to say, if I try harder, I'm going to do it. Because at the stage in my life right now, I don't want to. Yeah. Therefore, if I want to have somebody win an arm wrestling contest, you're my guy and I'm going to pay you to win. And then we're going to pay you how to promote it and everything else. But there sure shit ain't going to be me going out there to arm wrestle when these arms combined are not as big as yours.
Right.
And that's a limitation that says, okay, I'm not trying to be something that I'm not.
Right. No, I appreciate it. That's a great take. One of the other question is basically it's a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs out there, really don't know what they may be getting into, and it's all a learning lesson, right? But what advice would you have for somebody that's probably working right now or somebody that's aspiring to be an entrepreneur? What's one piece of advice you would give to them?
Don't do what you hate doing. Because guess what? As an entrepreneur, only do what you love to do. Do what you're passionate about, because you need to wake up every day and lead a team to be able to be successful. And if you hate what you do every day, it doesn't matter what the world tells you can make money off of. If you ain't good at it, don't try and do it, because you're not going to be passionate about it, and you're not going to be able to help people. And in order to build an unbelievable company, you have to be willing to help people. And if you hate waking up every day to do that, you're not going to help people in the right direction.
Right. So, hey, Marc, I appreciate your time. And before we close out, man, I want to give you something. I appreciate you allowing us to come into your trenches and show us what your business is about. And here is a Trenchwork hoodie, man. So I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you very much.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate y'all.
Squad going crazy, I'm inaugurated. Bringing greatness to the Bay, I feel like Tom Brady. Hand on the game, tell them never try to play me. Want a little smoke, dog, it can get hazy. Act up, no, I can't behave, okay. Who can get it jumping like the wave? I wait. When we meet you on my dinner plate, fillet. In love with danger, I can't play it safe, okay. Yeah, dog, you know how we ride it. When we pull